You have spent months preparing your application. You have received your acceptance letter from an American university. And now the only thing standing between you and your dreams is a short interview at the U.S. consulate. Your heart races every time you think about it. You have read horror stories online about people getting denied for reasons they did not even understand. You have seen social media posts claiming that visa officers reject students randomly or that the approval rates have dropped dramatically. The anxiety keeps building, and you start wondering if all your hard work will even matter on that day. Take a breath. I understand exactly what you are feeling right now, and I want you to know that most of what you have read online is either exaggerated, outdated, or simply not true. The F1 visa interview can feel intimidating, but when you understand what consular officers are actually looking for and how to present yourself clearly and honestly, your chances of approval increase significantly. My name is Umar, and this is Real Guide Updates, where we focus on giving you accurate, fact-based immigration information without the panic, without the drama, and without the speculation. If you are preparing for your F1 visa interview and you want to walk into that consulate with confidence and clarity, this video is going to give you everything you need to know. Let us start by understanding what the F1 visa actually is and what it represents. The F1 is a non-immigrant student visa that allows foreign nationals to pursue academic studies at accredited educational institutions in the United States. This includes universities, colleges, high schools, language training programs, and other academic institutions. The key word here is non-immigrant. This is important because it shapes everything about how your application is evaluated. When you apply for an F1 visa, you are telling the U.S. government that you intend to enter the country temporarily for the specific purpose of studying and that you plan to return to your home country after completing your education. The consular officer's job is to determine whether your application is genuine and whether you meet the legal requirements for this visa category. Now, there is a legal concept you need to understand called Section 214B of the Immigration and Nationality Act. This section essentially states that every visa applicant is presumed to be an intending immigrant until they prove otherwise. In simple terms, the burden is on you to demonstrate that you have strong ties to your home country and that you have a legitimate reason to return after your studies. This is not something to be afraid of. It is simply how the system works, and understanding this will help you prepare effectively. Let me walk you through the main factors that consular officers evaluate during your interview. The first and most important factor is your intent. Are you genuinely going to the United States to study? The officer wants to see that you have a clear academic purpose, that you understand what program you are enrolling in, and that this education makes sense for your career goals. This might seem obvious, but you would be surprised how many applicants struggle to explain why they chose their specific school or program. Before your interview, you should be able to clearly articulate why you chose your particular university, why you selected your specific major, and how this degree fits into your long-term career plans. If you are studying computer science, for example, you should be able to explain what aspects of the field interest you and what kind of work you hope to do after graduation. If you cannot explain these things clearly, the officer may question whether you have a genuine academic purpose. The second major factor is your ties to your home country. Remember what I said about Section 214B. This is where it comes into play. The consular officer needs to believe that you have compelling reasons to return home after your studies. These ties can be family connections, property ownership, job prospects, business interests, or other significant commitments in your home country. Many applicants make the mistake of thinking they need to prove they will definitely return, but that is not quite accurate. What you need to demonstrate is that you have strong enough connections to your home country that it makes logical sense for you to go back. If you have parents, siblings, or other close family members at home, that is a tie. If your family owns property or a business that you are expected to be involved in, that is a tie. If there is a specific career opportunity or industry in your home country where your U.S. education will be valuable, that is a tie. The third factor is your financial ability to pay for your education and living expenses in the United States. American education is expensive, and the consular officer needs to be confident that you can afford your studies without needing to work illegally or become a public charge. This means you need to have clear documentation showing where your funding is coming from. If your parents are sponsoring you, you should have their bank statements, employment letters, tax returns, or other documents showing their income and assets. If you have a scholarship, you should have official documentation from the university. If you are using a combination of sources, you should have documentation for each one. The key is transparency. The officer should be able to look at your financial documents and understand exactly how your education will be funded. Now let me address some common mistakes that lead to visa denials, because understanding these will help you avoid them. One of the biggest mistakes is poor interview preparation. Some applicants walk into the interview without being able to clearly explain their study plans, their university choice, or their career goals. They give vague answers or seem unsure about basic details of their own application. This creates doubt in the officer's mind about whether the application is genuine. Another common mistake is inconsistency between your documents and your verbal answers. If your documents say one thing but you say something different during the interview, that is a red flag. For example, if your financial documents show your father as your sponsor but you tell the officer your uncle is paying for your education, that inconsistency will cause problems. Review your documents carefully before the interview and make sure you can speak accurately about everything in your application. Some applicants also make the mistake of over-explaining or providing too much unnecessary information. The interview is typically very short, often just a few minutes. The officer will ask you specific questions, and you should answer those questions directly and concisely. If you ramble on or start talking about things the officer did not ask, you might inadvertently say something that creates confusion or raises concerns. Let me also address the issue of nervousness, because I know many of you are worried about being too nervous during the interview. Here is the truth. Consular officers interview dozens of people every day. They know that applicants are nervous. A little nervousness is completely normal and will not hurt your application. What matters is that you can still communicate clearly and answer questions honestly despite being nervous. If you feel anxious, take a moment to breathe before answering. It is perfectly acceptable to pause briefly before responding to a question. Speak slowly and clearly. If you did not understand a question, politely ask the officer to repeat it. These are all normal things that officers see every day, and none of them will negatively impact your application. Now, let me talk about document preparation, because this is an area where many applicants either over-prepare or under-prepare. You need to bring certain essential documents to your interview. These include your passport, your DS-160 confirmation page, your interview appointment letter, your I-20 form from your university, your SEVIS fee payment receipt, and financial documents showing your ability to pay for your education. In addition to these required documents, you may want to bring supporting documents that strengthen your case. These could include academic transcripts, standardized test scores, evidence of ties to your home country, and any other documents that support your application. However, here is an important point. Do not assume that bringing a huge stack of papers will automatically help your case. The officer may not look at most of your documents. What matters most is what you say during the interview and whether your essential documents are in order. Organize your documents logically so you can quickly find anything the officer asks for. If they ask for your bank statements, you should be able to produce them within seconds. If they ask about your I-20, you should have it ready. Being organized demonstrates that you are serious and prepared. Let me now go through some common interview questions and how to approach them. One of the most frequent questions is why you chose this particular university. When answering this, be specific. Do not just say it is a good school. Mention specific programs, faculty, research opportunities, or other concrete reasons that attracted you to the institution. This shows that you have done your research and have a genuine interest in that specific school. Another common question is why you want to study in the United States rather than in your home country. When answering this, focus on the educational opportunities available in America that may not be available at home. Perhaps your field of study is more advanced in the United States, or maybe there are research facilities or training opportunities that do not exist in your country. Again, be specific and honest. You may also be asked about your plans after graduation. This is where many applicants get confused because they worry that mentioning optional practical training or potential work opportunities might hurt their case. Here is the reality. OPT is a legal component of the F1 program. You are allowed to mention it. What you should not do is say that you plan to stay in America permanently or that you want to immigrate. Your answer should focus on how your education will help your career back home, while acknowledging that you may take advantage of OPT to gain practical experience before returning. Some officers may ask about your family, your financial situation, or your previous travel history. Answer these questions honestly and directly. If you have family members in the United States, do not lie about it. If you have previously been denied a visa, do not hide it. Consular officers have access to your application history, and dishonesty will almost certainly result in a denial. Now, let me address some common myths and misconceptions about the F1 visa interview. One myth is that consular officers have quotas to deny a certain number of applicants each day. This is completely false. There are no denial quotas. Each application is evaluated on its own merits based on the legal requirements for the visa. Another myth is that your chances are better or worse depending on which officer you get. While different officers may have slightly different interviewing styles, they are all trained to apply the same legal standards. Your outcome depends on the strength of your application and your interview performance, not on the individual personality of the officer. Some people believe that wearing formal business attire will improve their chances of approval. While you should dress neatly and appropriately, there is no evidence that wearing a suit versus business casual makes any difference in the outcome. Dress respectfully, but do not stress excessively about your outfit. There is also a myth that applicants from certain countries are automatically rejected at higher rates. While approval rates do vary by country, this is because the applicant pools are different, not because of nationality-based discrimination. If you have a strong application and you present yourself well, your nationality should not prevent you from being approved. Another misconception is that you need to have travel history to other countries to get approved. While a positive travel history can be helpful, many first-time travelers are approved for F1 visas every year. If you have never traveled abroad before, focus on the other aspects of your application rather than worrying about your lack of travel history. Let me also clarify who exactly needs to go through this process. The F1 visa is required for international students who are not U.S. citizens or permanent residents and who wish to study at an accredited American educational institution. If you already have a valid F1 visa and are simply continuing your studies, you do not need to go through the interview process again unless your visa has expired and you have traveled outside the country. If you are transferring from one SEVIS-approved school to another within the United States, you typically do not need a new visa. However, if your visa has expired and you leave the country, you will need to apply for a new visa before returning. Always check the specific rules that apply to your situation, and if you are unsure, consult with your school's international student office. For those of you who may be worried about recent news or rumors regarding immigration policy changes, let me offer some reassurance. Immigration rules in the United States typically do not change overnight. Any significant policy changes usually go through a formal process that includes announcements, implementation periods, and often legal challenges. The basic requirements for the F1 visa have remained consistent for many years, and while minor procedural changes may occur, the fundamental process is stable. If you want to verify any information about F1 visa requirements, I encourage you to check official sources directly. The U.S. State Department website has detailed information about student visas. The U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services website, commonly known as USCIS, also provides valuable guidance. Your school's designated school official, or DSO, is another excellent resource for questions about your specific situation. Do not rely on social media posts, random forum threads, or secondhand information from friends and family for important immigration decisions. While people may share their experiences with good intentions, every case is different, and unofficial information can often be incomplete or inaccurate. Now, what should you realistically do to prepare for your interview? First, gather all your required documents well in advance. Do not wait until the last minute to request bank statements or other documentation that may take time to obtain. Give yourself at least several weeks to collect everything you need. Second, practice answering common interview questions. You can do this with a friend, a family member, or even by yourself in front of a mirror. The goal is not to memorize scripted answers, but to become comfortable discussing your study plans, your university choice, and your future goals. Third, arrive at your interview appointment early and be prepared to wait. Consulates can be busy, and processing may take longer than expected. Bring water if allowed, and be patient. Fourth, during the interview itself, speak clearly and confidently. Make eye contact with the officer. Answer the specific questions being asked without going off on tangents. If you do not know the answer to something, it is better to admit that honestly than to make something up. Fifth, if you are denied, do not panic. A denial is not the end of the road. You can reapply with a stronger application. Many people who are initially denied eventually receive their visas on subsequent attempts after addressing the concerns that led to the denial. If you are denied under Section 214B, it means the officer was not convinced of your non-immigrant intent based on the information provided. This can often be overcome by providing additional evidence of ties to your home country or by improving how you present your case. For those of you who receive your visa, congratulations. But remember that receiving the visa is just the first step. Once you arrive in the United States, you must maintain your F1 status by enrolling full-time in your program, making satisfactory academic progress, and following all the rules associated with your visa category. Your school's International Student Office will be your primary resource for questions about maintaining status while you are in the country. I also want to mention something important about seeking professional help. If your case is straightforward, you likely do not need to hire an attorney or consultant to prepare for your interview. The information I have shared in this video, combined with guidance from your school's International Student Office and official government resources, should be sufficient for most applicants. However, if you have a complicated situation, such as a previous visa denial, a criminal history, or other factors that might complicate your application, consulting with a qualified immigration attorney may be worthwhile. If you do seek professional help, make sure you work with a licensed attorney or an accredited representative. Be wary of anyone who guarantees approval or asks you to provide false information. Before I wrap up, let me summarize the key points to remember. The F1 visa interview is an opportunity to demonstrate that you are a genuine student with clear academic goals and strong ties to your home country. Prepare thoroughly by understanding your study plans, organizing your documents, and practicing your answers. Be honest and direct during the interview. Do not believe everything you read on social media, and always verify information through official sources. If you are denied, learn from the experience and consider reapplying with a stronger application. Remember, hundreds of thousands of international students receive F1 visas and study in the United States every year. The system works, and if you present a genuine and well-prepared application, there is no reason to assume you will not be among them. Thank you for watching this video all the way through. If you found this information helpful, please take a moment to subscribe to Real Guide updates and turn on the notification bell so you do not miss future videos. We are committed to providing you with accurate, calm, and reliable immigration information to help you navigate these processes with confidence. If you know someone who is preparing for their F1 visa interview and might be feeling anxious or overwhelmed, please share this video with them. Sometimes just having clear information can make all the difference in how someone approaches a stressful situation. I would also love to hear from you in the comments below. If you have questions about the F1 visa process, or if there are other immigration topics you would like me to cover in future videos, leave a comment and let me know. I read every comment and use your feedback to create content that addresses your real concerns. Stay informed, stay calm, and remember that knowledge is your best tool when navigating the immigration process. I will see you in the next video.